This month in UK Today, how science is sharpening Britain's Olympic ski team.
40 years on the throne, a reign in review.
A subway to Europe, ending Britain's island isolation.
The growing black voice in British politics.
And soccer's new breed set their sights on some special sporting goals. The Austrian Alps. It is here that the British ski team is training for next month's Winter Olympics in France. Watching from the sidelines, a young woman whose technical expertise could help steer them to Olympic success. But Hester Brierley is no skier. She is studying biomechanics, the science of human movement, and is using computer technology to offer a radical new way of analyzing the strengths and the weaknesses of the ski team. Hester's scientific task begins here on the slalom course with a detailed recording of the skiers in action. Video cameras are used to record the skiers as they pass, and absolute precision is crucial.
Firstly, we set up the two cameras, which are placed optimally at an angle of between 70 and 110 degrees between them. We make sure the two cameras are gen-locked to synchronise the films. Then we place a calibration volume in the area that we want to actually study. 1227!
In layman's terms, that means creating an area through which the skiers must pass with a set of coordinates to measure their performances. It is marked out with poles.
1205. Recording! Recording!
Hester's video cameras first record the positions of the poles for future use in laboratories. Then the poles are removed, and this time the cameras in the same fixed position roll as the skiers pass by. To the untrained eye, they zip past in seconds. But back at her college in Crewe, Hester has the technology to slow all this down, to see where there is room for improvement. First, though, all the data must be transferred from the videotape into the computer. It is here that the crucial importance of the box becomes clear. It is a precise frame which enables the skiers' movements to be broken down. That's what Hester has to do, marking the positions of the skiers' hands and knees and feet as they pass through this area. Every twist and turn of the skier's movement is fed into the computer a frame at a time, a laborious process. A three-dimensional picture of the skier's movements is built up using the two camera angles, so for each frame there are two corresponding images. But the end result is invaluable. The film has been translated into sophisticated graphics, which will yield up precise data about the skiers' performances.
And what we could also look at is from any angle above. If you want to look at how the body moves into the inside of the turn, we can do that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, this is an angle that's probably unusual to us anyway, but that's good that we can actually see it from above.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you're right, you can see the banking.
Yeah.
Also, it actually gives us a good direction of the line as well.
Yeah.
Technical information can be examined frame by frame, not just as graphics, but in the form of graphs and scales.
What we want to do is see what kind of technique they have, if it's a good technique or if it's a bad technique. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! What it actually shows myself as a coach is the actual pressure when it starts in the turn, the position of the skier on the turn, right the way through to the end of the turn. All right? How was that one?
Yeah, not bad.
Can you see the difference, though, from what you were doing before?
For sure, yeah, it's much better.
It's faster as well and more control.
Yeah.
What we'll be able to get from this information is hopefully a better skier. And I have no doubt that we will get a lot of information from this, which will then be able to improve our British skiers and also close the gap between them and the European team in the future.
Hester's work continues. It's early days yet, but it might just help the British ski team when they take on the rest of the world at Albertville on the other side of these mountains.
London Airport, February 1952. The young Princess Elizabeth arrives in Britain. Her holiday in Kenya cut short by news of the death of her father, King George VI. A time of royal mourning, but also the start of a new monarch's reign, a second Elizabethan era. Now Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II is celebrating 40 years on the throne. These have been years of the most rapid changes in history, her reign one of the few threads of stability. The new monarch's realm was deep in austerity, the post-war boom just beginning. Churchill was Prime Minister. Abroad, Truman was the US President, and Stalin still ruled the Soviet Union. Britain's welfare state, envied the world over, was still in its infancy. Trade union power was growing. British industry, from the coal mines to the railways, from steel to shipbuilding, and the docks were coming under state control. In the 1990s, the state has been rolled back and many utilities have been privatized, a change still underway. London has become one of the world's financial centres, but multinational corporations have also grown. In the 1950s, British shoppers had little choice, and few people owned their own homes. Now the UK's citizens own more shares, and larger numbers of our own homes than ever before in history. Now all the talk is of ever-widening choice, more consumer goods, a wider range of products, of foods, of lifestyles. It was a trend just beginning in the 60s, as for the first time in history, prosperity spread downwards. A census reported that Britons were healthier, living longer, marrying younger, travelling more. Horizons have continued to widen, with appetites stimulated by television, a growing window on the world. Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953 was the first to be televised, and royal events in following decades saw her become Britain's most visible monarch. Television in 1952, a relative rarity, has now become all-pervasive. Few homes are now without a TV, and it spans the earth, offering us images and events relentlessly. The population explosion was predicted in 1952. Now, twice as many people crowd our planet. Populations have moved. Immigration and waves of refugees fleeing upheaval, transforming the face of societies. Healthcare for the growing millions has progressed fast. Some diseases like smallpox and TB are eradicated. But a cure for the common cold still eludes us, in spite of our medical sophistication. And the 1980s ushered in the new spectre of AIDS. In some crucial ways, society was reinvented. In 1952, the concept of the teenager was unknown. But then came rock and roll and the youth revolution. The age of permissiveness dawned, and later, women's liberation, gay rights, and the retreat of censorship. Other revolutions challenged us. In 1952, the Cold War was at its height. Soon, Cuba embraced Castro. Chairman Mao's China was convulsed by cultural revolution. And across America, race riots erupted. But the era also saw colonialism's end, the British Commonwealth strengthen, and the Queen assume the mantle of an international elder statesman. No one then forecast the sudden demise of the USSR and communism, or the growth of Western European links, the international resurgence of Islam, or the grim spread of terrorism. But the era also saw rapid advances in technology, making everyday reality of many things only dreamt of in the early 50s. New brand names, new products. Powered by a dream of progress, free then of today's shadows of environmental disaster, of poisoned oceans, wildlife choked, landscapes blighted. Global warming and acid rain, holes in the ozone layer, famines across Africa, landscapes and peoples laid waste. And always the fear of nuclear holocaust. New wars were all too predictable, if not the future battlefields. Young heroes and hopes died too at the hands of assassins. But amid the shocks and fears, the world survived, and our understanding of it grew. From the discovery of DNA, the very essence of life, to a deepening understanding of the fabric of the universe. And for the first time, man traveled into space, walked on the moon, gazed at the face of our home planet from afar. The Queen's reign has spanned all this. Now, 40 years on, a mother and grandmother, she's still young enough to celebrate yet more jubilees, to see the world reach a new millennium of human history.
The English Channel. For centuries, this narrow body of water has been Britain's bulwark against invasion. But this symbol of Britain's separation from the rest of Europe is finally yielding to history. In the heart of the Kent countryside, one of the world's greatest engineering projects is nearing completion, the Channel Tunnel. Britain will be joined to the mainland for the first time in 10,000 years. The tunnel will vanish beneath the English countryside near Dover in Kent and re-emerge 50 kilometres later near Calais in northern France. It will be the world's longest sea tunnel, with trains carrying cars and trucks on the 35-minute journey beneath the waves.
When I first started on the Channel Tunnel in February 1989, I was responsible for the 3 land tunnels. These are the 8-kilometre tunnels which are driven from 30 metres below the site behind us here in a wide sweeping arc to finish in Holywell Combe behind Folkestone. The initial tunnel was the Land Service Tunnel, which we finished 2 weeks ahead of programme in November 1989, and followed by the 2 running tunnels, which were completed 5 weeks ahead of programme in November 1990.
Following completion of the land tunnels, the construction teams began tunnelling south beneath the seabed towards France. Meanwhile, French tunnellers were beginning to dig towards them from the other side of the channel.